kids are ripped apart in an abortion, should we protect them from that?
I disagree with your premise.
Children. They're not even
What are they?
children. Nothing.
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 Do you have children?
No.
Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Any woman can make that decision between her doctor and herself and her mate, okay?
Even a woman in the womb?
There's no women in a womb.
Let's get some men, because, yeah, some strong men out here right now.
Maybe I'm not the most articulate person.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Definitely not.
What's up, you guys? This is More Love the Story, and for today's story, we are going over Savannah Craven. Now, Savannah Craven, she's a 23-year-old pro-life activist who walks the street of New York interviewing people about controversial topics, mainly about abortion. And you probably know her because she got sucker punched in the face by this girl here.
Not the point. What I'm saying.
That's really...
Well, this clip went viral, right? And rightfully so, because that was kind of crazy. I don't know why she did that. Ever since then, she's been gaining some traction, right? And I became interested in her, and I just wanted to see what her YouTube channel was about. Well, to give a little background, she grew up in California, okay? And she went to school in New York for musical theater. That's what she majored in, which is not a surprise, okay? If you watch her interviews, she's very theatrical. She just got it in her, so I'm not very surprised about that. Her interest in abortion actually began whenever she saw an undercover video. This is what it said online. It was some undercover video from this series by the CMP that was shot in 2015. And their whole entire point of this series was to secretly go to Planned Parenthood and see what their actual agenda was. Well, one of these videos that was put out pretty much allegedly showed that Planned Parenthood was accepting donations to essentially give more abortions to African American women. So essentially she was like, okay, I want to look more into this because it seems as if that Planned Parenthood has an agenda towards the African American population. Now, this is not new. These accusations are not new at all, right? You had Kanye West who came out and said something like that similarly, right?
I mean, we could just go on population control, not like if abortion is right or wrong. We could say factually the clinics were made by eugenics for population control, and it is controlling the population.
Saying that the #1 killer of Black Americans is abortion, which is kind of true, okay? If you read anything about Candace Owens, she has brought this up as well. And honestly, my interest in abortion began whenever I found out who Margaret Sanger is. And she is the founder of Planned Parenthood. Now, a lot of people have a lot of good things to say about her, right? Saying that she's pro-sex, she is, obviously she's pro-birth control, that she's all about sexual liberation, she's all about womanhood, and all of these good things. But then there's another side to Margaret Sanger that I did research on, and it seems as if that she was very, very into eugenics, right? She wanted to make the human race as best as possible. And this is where her racist allegations came about. And not only that, though, whenever she began Planned Parenthood, she started putting these abortion clinics in majority of African American communities, in majority of poor communities. And so some might say that there was an agenda behind that, because if you are giving more access to birth control or the ability to unalive your children in these poor communities, there might be an incentive on why, because typically there are certain people who live in these communities. So this is where the racist allegations have come about. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I'm very interested in it. I think there's something to it. I'm not going to sit here and 100% say that she was a racist, but it seems as if that she had some sort of agenda to, once again, make the race the best race possible, the human race the best race possible. And so putting these clinics in the poor communities where there are certain races, majority of certain races, it just seems a little weird, right? But not only that, she has said some crazy stuff like this.
And do you believe there is such a thing as sin?
Well, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically, delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin that people can commit.
So putting those two together has very much spiked an interest in abortion to me. And not just that, there's a lot of other things that make me interested in the topic of abortion and wanting to understand why people are pro-choice instead of pro-life. A little bit more information about Savannah to get you to understand who she is. She has ties with Blexit, which is Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum's organization, and also ties with Turning Point USA, which is a nonprofit started by Charlie Kirk. And some people call them the Great Value KKK, like my friend Leon over here. I understand. Like, y'all know I like me some Candace Owens. Don't hate me. I love me some Candace Owens. She be saying some wild stuff sometimes, but majority of the time, in my opinion, she's on point with a lot of the stuff. And at one point I wasn't liking Candace Owens. I really didn't. And then I started to listen to her, okay? And then I was like, I kind of agree with that, right? But regardless, she has ties with Blexit and Turning Point USA. So she identifies with that portion of the conservative social media crew, right? Now, Savannah's traction grew whenever she did the interview with Briana Rivers, which I showed you earlier. And in this interview, she asked Rivers about her views on abortion. And in my opinion, I think this is one of the best interviews that she's had, besides obviously getting punched in the face at the end. But I say that because a lot of the times whenever Savannah tries to go and interview people, they just run away, okay? They're like, you're making me uncomfortable. I don't want to talk about this. Briana actually wanted to sit down and give her point of view, right? Well, during the interview, okay, Savannah asked her a question, insinuating, trying to bring the parallels between having an abortion because parents might not want their kids, and then killing children in foster care, right? So Savannah was like, okay, if you're cool with abortion because these parents don't want their children, then would you also be okay with killing kids in foster care? And Rivers, Briana, girl, she said this.
Don't get to kill the baby just because their dad didn't want them. You can. Should we kill the kids in foster care? And
Why not? Why not, if that's the case?
We should kill the kids in foster care that aren't wanted?
Who's going to take care of them? I need to know the percentage of people who take children from foster care and abuse them and molest them, who make them like personal slaves.
We should just kill them.
Statistics before you come to me talking about pro-life.
We should kill the victims of molestation.
I think, what does this have to do with molestation?
I remember seeing that clip and I was just like, what is she saying? Like, does she actually hear what she's saying? Or she just yapping? I think she had to just be yapping, right? But she said this. And so Savannah's like, what the hell? So whenever she pressed her on it, right? And she was like, well, you're the one. You know what? I'm gonna just show it.
I'm not the one who admitted they would be okay with killing babies in foster care and killing children that have been abused.
That's not the point. What I'm saying.
That's really.
Well, after all this happened, she started GoFundMe. They got taken down because they went against terms of service. She tried to start the GoFundMe to help her pay for her legal fees, but you can't do that for a violent crime, right? Duh. So that crap got taken down. And so after that, before she got arrested, because Briana very much did get arrested, she goes on Facebook and she apologizes to Savannah. And the Facebook post says, to Savannah, I severely apologize, but cannot sit around and allow you to continue pushing this one-sided narrative. I understand hands being put on someone is never the answer, but throwing rocks and hiding hands is worse. She knows the truth that she needs to release the footage in its entirety. Savannah is a professional antagonist, not a reporter, and the truth will be told. Which, we're going to get to my views on that because I kind of agree and I kind of disagree at the same time. But Savannah did release the full YouTube video. She did. She put it on her channel. So that's out there. So she was like, okay, I'll do it. And I watched it. And Briana, I just don't agree with you. But that's okay. I'm not here to. So in the post, Briana accuses Savannah of telling a one-sided story. And this is the part of the post that I absolutely disagree with, right? There's certain things that I agree with, but this right here, I just don't. Because Savannah goes on the streets and gives interviews, right? She asks questions, she asks opinions. Why are you here? What do you feel about this topic? What do you feel about that topic? Majority of the time, they run away. They don't say anything, or they cannot articulate themselves very well. Okay, that is not her problem. That is a you problem. So to sit here and say that Savannah is only telling a one-sided story, that's not true. She's literally going on the street to interview the other side. You see what I'm saying? So the one-sided BS is not a fact. It only seems one-sided because a lot of these people can never articulate their opinions. And once again, that's a them problem, not a Savannah issue. Now, another thing that Briana said in her post was that she is an antagonist. And this, I 100% agree with, because even though I agree with Savannah when it comes down to being pro-life, right? I agree with her. What I don't agree with is essentially her motive when going out and doing these interviews. I don't think that her motive is to actually reason with these people, right? I think a lot of the time she's just going out there to shoot a YouTube video to make them look stupid, right? To make them look dumb. She just wants to show how dumb these pro-choice supporters are and how they look, at least the ones that she are interviewing, right? And so, like I said, a lot of the time people aren't good at articulating their opinions. They aren't good at articulating the way that they feel about something, which you should be, honestly. Especially when it comes down to something like this, I feel like you should at least have some type of, I don't know, some type of knowledge about why you support something as big and something as controversial as abortion. But some people don't. Some people just don't really know how to articulate themselves in the best way possible in a debate form, right? Because that's another thing. Savannah goes out there and she already has points. She already has questions. She already has things in her back pocket that she's already going out there knowing that she's going to ask these people. A lot of these people are just going out protesting or just walking down the street, right? And they're not ready to debate. They're not ready to have a conversation like this. And so that's why I feel like majority of her interviews, I'm not going to say it's malicious. I don't think it's malicious. I just think that her way of trying to get the point across that pro-choice is not the right choice, is by making these people look dumb. Like, okay, this is how idiotic these people sound, so why would you support a movement like this? And like, I'm not saying it probably doesn't work, okay? I'm just saying that I just don't think it's the best way to actually bridge the gap between the two sides, right? And if you actually want to get somebody to understand where you're coming from, and you actually want these people to understand and reason with your point of view, because once again, I believe what she believes. I agree with Savannah Craven 100%, but I just don't agree with how she's going about it, because once again, her intentions aren't good. She is going out there to just simply make these people look dumb, and they can feel it. And I think also because she's gaining more traction and she's seeing one, even though I will say, I don't think the Rivers interview was as antagonistic, in my opinion. I saw if that was the full uncut footage that she posted on her YouTube channel, I just think what Rivers was saying, Briana, was just dumb. That's just me. I just don't think she would, like, she obviously was engaging with her, which a lot of people don't, but I just don't think what she was saying was making sense. So I don't even think that was the most antagonistic interview, in my opinion. There has been other interviews that I've seen that I feel like, yeah, she's definitely antagonizing these people. These people are walking away. She's kind of following them. She also does this thing where, not in every interview that I've seen at least, but in certain ones where she's trying to blend in, right? She's trying to like make sure that their guard is down so she can ask more questions, right? So she'll wear trans right activist shirts or hold posters that says something about women's rights that clearly go against her beliefs, right? Or whenever somebody asks her a question who she is, she'll say a fake name and a fake organization. I just think that's just BS.
He's an idiot. I'm Amber. I'm with Feminist Rising. What's
like this is why people call you a troll, right, Savannah? Like, you do trollish stuff, and then you go around and you say, how am I a troll? That is how you're a troll. And I just don't think you're going to actually get the other side to hear your point of view if you continue on using that tactic. And what's so crazy is I think she has good potential. I really do. I think her potential is very much there. I think she's very articulate. I think she's very smart. I think that she has a goal, and she's trying to make sure that she gets to that goal. But it's one thing to sit down and actually try to genuinely get somebody to understand your point of view, and you just berating them low-key, right? And then once again, she's trying to set them up to sound stupid. And I understand that there are some people who will see those interviews and resonate with them and be like, okay, maybe I was wrong about this, maybe I was wrong about that. But I feel like majority of the time now, the side that you need to actually reach out to is just going to be turned off by your videos. I feel like now majority of Savannah's videos, or if not all, doesn't actually reach out to the people that she needs to talk to. It's only just entertaining and just reaching out to her own crew, her own conservative, audience, right? And that doesn't really do much good, because isn't that the whole point? Is to get other people to understand why pro-life is the better choice. And while I will say there are certain certain clips where I just listen. Like that one girl who just started breaking down, crying, talking about how Trump is a rapist and stuff like. I was like, what is going on?
What are you terrified of? Like, what's so scary?
The fact that a man who has been like a is in office, that is terrifying already. That is just not okay.
I don't want you to cry.
That's not funny. She clearly is going through something. She's clearly going through something. I'm not gonna lie, that's not funny. But it's just like sometimes I do look at these people, I'm just like, what is happening? But then again, there are a lot of other interviews where there's liberal people interviewing conservatives and they sound just as dumb. Like that one interview when the guy was like, if Jesus was an immigrant, would you let him over the border? And what she said, she was like,
it is.
If Jesus was here right now, would you let him in?
Of course I would.
Why?
As long as he went through the proper, as long as
he came here legally. As long as Jesus Christ came to this country legally, we would let him in.
Thank you, gentlemen.
oh my gosh. Anyway, so it's all about how you frame it, right? You can make anybody look dumb. Okay, and so I just feel like interviews like this is entertaining. Yes, it's entertaining, but is it actually a net positive? Is it actually doing what you intend for it to do? I just don't think so. So that is one thing I will agree with Briana Rivers on, is that I do think she is antagonistic. Do I disagree with her Savannah Craven's movement? Absolutely not. Do I think that she doesn't know what she's talking about and that she's showing a one-sided point of view? I don't, because that, once again, that's the whole point of her interviewing. Y'all have every right and every instance to actually show your point of view and your views, and they just walk away consistently. They always walk away when the questions get too hard or they just get uncomfortable, because I think some of the times they start thinking about it, they're like, I mean, like, that sounds bad, but like I don't know how else to put it, and so they just start to be like, maybe I'm just not the right person to talk about this. And they probably are, because there's a lot of people who are pro-choice and they make good arguments for it, right? So once again, that's just not everybody's built for that. And it's a game. It really is a game. Like, when it comes down to politics, it's just who can say their point of view the best, who can persuade another person to believe their point of view by framing it a certain way. A lot of these people, I mean, I'm not saying that means that these people don't actually believe what they believe. They do, but there's a lot of conniving strategies when it comes down to politics. And like I said, you could just make anybody look stupid, honestly. Me personally, when it comes down to abortion, I am most definitely pro-life. I understand there's gray areas, right, for women who get sexually assaulted and for mothers who might potentially lose their life if they have the child. I can understand those gray areas, and I can see why people would allow abortion in those situations, right? But majority of the time, those are not the instances. Those are not the case, right? Majority of the time, a lot of these women either do not want to have the baby because they're not ready, or they're not financially ready, or they just simply don't want children. And in my opinion, I just don't think that it's the baby's fault that you ended up doing something that would cause a baby. And then when the baby is there, you're like, I just don't really want to be responsible for it, right? And so I just think, if you care about women's rights, right? If you care about equal rights, anybody's rights, right? Human rights, then how could you not consider the rights of a child? That's just my opinion. I know not everyone sees it that way. I know not everyone thinks that a fetus is an actual human being, but every human starts somewhere, and it starts with the fetus, right? So like, and the fetus is a human. And you can say a fetus is a clump of cells. Well, we're a clump of cells. Like, to me, I just don't see the logic. Okay, that's just my opinion. That's just my view. And I don't know. I'm definitely pro-life, so I 100% agree with Savannah Craven. Just once again, I just don't agree with her tactics and the way that she goes about things. Sometimes she's funny though. Sometimes she's funny. So, moral of the story is that it doesn't matter if you're on the right. It doesn't matter if you're on the left. If you want to frame somebody to look like an idiot, it's probably very easy to do so. Just find a random person who probably doesn't know that much about whatever topic that you're going to say, and just keep berating them with questions, and eventually they're going to sound like a dumbass. It's really not that hard. But I just don't think that it's the right thing to do. If you actually care about the topics that you want to fight for, whether that's pro-choice, whether that's trans rights, whether that's gay rights, whether that's rights for religion, whatever it may be, Go to the person genuinely and try to reason with them. That's the only way that somebody's even going to be able to hear what you're saying. If you try to come at them with malicious intent, they're just going to be closed ears and they're not going to even listen. And then the people that also support them, they're going to see that and they're also going to have the same reaction. So if you actually care about what you care about and whatever movement you actually want other people to support as well, I would say come at it with a genuine heart. Okay, don't just try to go out there and make fun of people. It might be very easy to do so, but you're not giving a net positive. All you're doing is just giving entertainment to the people who already think like you, and you are not bridging the gap to others who do not. Well guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you seen any more Savannah Craven's interviews? If you haven't, I would say check out our channel just to see what I'm talking about when I say a lot of these people do not be making sense. Okay, but do you agree with Briana Rivers? Do you think that Savannah Craven is a troll or not? Let me know in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.